Welcome along to another edition of my garden renovation. In this bumper episode, I'm going to be showing you how I start to get the structure up for this, my pergola / shed combo. And also, as an added bonus at the end of the video, I'm going to show you how I laid these tiles. The first time I've ever done it, so you're in for a treat, but it just goes to show that anybody can do it, just with a little bit of knowledge. Right, so next up is the posts. I've started drilling a hole here with my lovely Arga bit that I keep going on about. So these are just 4x4 posts, which are going to be basically one there, one about there, one about there, and then the same at the front here. And then they are going to be the supporting structure for the roof, and I'll build the shed within these 4 over here as well. What I've decided, because they are sawn timber, I'm going to sand them down. So I've got the bout sander, and I'm going to give these a good blast to try and get them as smooth as possible. Because the last thing you want to do is get these painted up and then they'll flare up even more, and then you lean against them and it's going to be quite sharp. So that is my thinking. I'm going to get these all done. Yeah, that's it. Right, let's start sanding. Right then, so as a bit of a comparison, this is how they come. So this is just sawn timber, and then this is what it looks like now. So it's not perfect, but hopefully you can see the smoothness of this compared to this makes a lot of difference. Obviously it's not perfect, there's going to still be loads of bits in it there like this, you know, not great, not perfect joinery grade timber, but it is ultimately a post, so it is going to be outside. So I'm well happy with that compared to that. Definitely the right decision to make to do this, just spend a little extra time just getting it right, just because I know that if I'd have just painted that, I would have always thought, what if I'd have sanded it? So definitely the right decision. Right, just a few more to do and then they're done. So these are all done. I'm very happy with how they've turned out. This one's not the best, unfortunately, but it was a bit of a state to start with, so it's a vast improvement to what it was. Just need to decide which is going to be the bottom now, because these are going to be buried 600mm in the ground. So what I'm going to do is get some bitumen paint and basically paint the bottom 600mm of this, so these are ready then to go in the ground. It just gives a bit of extra protection. They would obviously be encased in concrete, and I am going to put a bit of gravel at the bottom of the concrete as well, just if there's any extra water in there, it will just help it soak away. That will just save these for a little bit longer and stop them rotting as quick, because obviously I don't want them to rot at all. So the most protection I can do for them, the better. Some of them are a bit damaged on the ends, there's a bit of knackeredness on some of them, so if I can hide that bit in the ground and leave the good end at the top, then that is a bonus. So a little sort out of these. There is that as well that I've noticed, which I can't really do much about, so I'm gonna have to put that at the back somewhere so it's out of the way and you won't see it. But yeah, right, gloves on, start painting. So they've all had one coat now, so I'm just gonna leave that, and then they can have another coat probably tomorrow once they're all dry, and then they're ready to drop in. Like I said, hole here is dug. I don't know if you can see the bottom, it's pretty far down, but what I'm going to do is basically just go a little bit further than I need to, and then I'm going to put some gravel in the bottom of there, and then what that does is act as a little bit of a soak away, so if there is any water it will drop sort of down to the bottom rather than soaking in through the concrete and potentially rotting the post out. The ground around here is very clayey, so it does hold a lot of water, so I'm going to try absolutely everything I can to make sure that the water that does come around this post is soaked away as best as possible. I'm just going to get that bad boy drill set up and start getting some holes done. Right, this is without doubt the most difficult hole that I've dug in this garden. It is literally just bricks and stones and then bits of concrete and all sorts. This is the joys of a new build garden. They literally just throw everything in the ground and just go straight over it. It's absolutely solid. It's also made worse by the fact that I'm in this corner. I knew this was going to be a bad one. I've had to take the handle off my hole borer so I can actually get right in there. But I'm having to literally like drill a bit and then smack a bit more out, and it's fun. Yeah, let's carry on. Exciting has arrived. Boom. 35 square meters of porcelain tiles. So now I need to get all those back out there because I need to be able to park on my drive. So that is the next job. Hole digging on hold, porcelain tiles in the garden is go, go, go. I'm just unloading my porcelain tiles, and I think they've been packaged by Jigsaw from the film Saw. I don't know what they were thinking when they did this. So there's tiles packed in the middle, which is fine, but then it's also got a perimeter of tiles around the outside, and they're all banded together with these straps. So to get those out, I need to cut the straps to get these out, but if I cut the straps, nothing's holding anything, so it's all just going to go whoop, 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 and fall out. What's the worst that can happen, eh? Right then, the mountain of tiles is in. That is it. So these are from Pavestone. They're called Evo Quartz White, and you can't see them because they're hidden a while away now. I don't really want to flip this over, but you will see them soon. They're very nice. As the name suggests, they're white and they look a bit quartzy. So yeah, there's a lot. They were heavy, so I did have a bit of help, as you saw. Right, now they're all in. I'm going to get back onto that hole. I've gone and got a breaker during the rain to get rid of that concrete slab that's in the bottom of it, and look, it's also filled with water, which is nice, so I need to get that out as well. Never easy, is it? Right, let's carry on. Right, so we've got 5 posts in. That one there was an absolute nightmare. It was literally just solid concrete. I'm assuming this area, while they were building this estate, was used for something, and there was a concrete base put in across here because there's just no rhyme or reason for the solid concrete that was down there. But anyway, it's done. That one was a bit of a pain. That one was really bad. Apart from that, it's been great. It's been lovely, yeah. So all I've got left to do is that one tomorrow. It's starting to take a bit of shape now, so you can see sort of the size of what it will be at the end. So this side here will be the pergola, and then this side will be my shed. Yes, every man wants a good shed, don't they? Right, and guys, so the last one is in, and I've also done this. These are now all shored up. Everything is held in place, nice and plumb. Basically, I've done all these braces everywhere. It's taken me a while, and there's been a lot of head scratching because everything's at funny angles. So because this obviously comes out at an angle like this, the decision was, do I make these 3 posts here run in line with this, like at the same angle, so they're twisted like that, and then keep those straight? But then when I come to do my shed here, it's going to make this difficult. Or do I put them straight like this to make this bit easier, but then it's a bit dodgy when I'm putting my my surround on? So I made the decision to basically square them all off, so they're all facing forward, they're all facing down that way. So it was a bit more technical, and I didn't film it because there was lots of swear words going on, and yeah, but we got there eventually. So you can see basically what I've done. I've literally I started in this corner, got this squared off nicely to how I wanted it, and then I just worked from there. Got all my distances the same, so these posts are the same distance apart as are these. So this is all the same distance that way, but obviously it gets a greater distance as it comes down this way. So it's been a bit of a nightmare, but I've literally just used bits of batten, screwed them all together, leveled it all up, and then yeah, these are all nice and solid now, so I can carry on, get all the concrete in all of these. I've come up a little bit further as well with the bitumen paint, just to make sure that it's fully covered. The concrete's going to come up to ground level, and then the stone will go back round it, and then once the tiles are on, it will then be silicone around it to stop any more water going down. So now I need to mix some concrete. It's like 3:30 on Sunday, and I need to get it done so I can actually chill out for at least an hour before I get back to work tomorrow. Let's get on with it. Right then guys, that's it. They are all in. Concrete's going off nicely. I've flaunched them all, so any water that actually sits on top will run away from the wood, in theory. Hopefully tomorrow they'll have gone off nicely and I can take all this down. Right then guys, today is the day where we start the tiling. So I have my sub base ready. So what we've got here is 100ml of MOT Type 1 hardcore compacted down, so that gives us the nice level that we're going for. Right then, so I've set up my square line because I haven't got a big bricky triangle square, you know what I mean, the fold out things that bricklayers would use to set out foundations or brickwork or anything like that. I don't have one of those, so I've Bear Grylls it and improvised, adapt and overcame. I've basically used my big roofing square here, held that against the wall, ran my level up the side of that, and then ran my line then from the point I want it to be here, roughly how much I want it to be off the fence, right the way up there. And you can see, let's go up here, it's not bad, and then boom, a massive, the fence goes, kicks out here and kicks back in, which is nice. So right, that's basically what I need there. So now what I need to do is square off that and just check that this all runs in nicely across here. So I'll get this set up and then I'll be back and show you what I've done. Got a few tiles down, just basically rested them against the wall, and then got a couple of tiles this way. So what I can do from this is determine whether that line there is square with this line there over a greater distance really. These tiles are 900, so I've got like 2.7 meters across there. This is a 6 foot level, so I've got 6 foot across here. That string line obviously extends all the way up there, and I can see I've got a perfect margin down the edge of this level. This level is perfectly in line with that string line, and I'm good across there. This is tight against this tile here, like that, so I know that these edges are butted up nicely against each other, so there's no room for error. That is very good. I'm within sort of probably like 0.5 mil, so I can cope with that. There's always a little bit of room for adjustment. I can just check all my lines as I go, make sure that everything's running in true. There's going to be a fall which is going to run across to here, which is going to give us a 1 in 60 fall. Well, it's not going to give us, we need a 1 in 60 fall. So what that means is for every 60 millimeters or 60 centimeters or 60 meters or whatever, every 60 units you go that way, you need to go 1 unit down that way. So these are a 600 mil slab tile. So over the width of that tile, we need to drop 10 mil, 1 centimeter, however you want to say it. So every 60 centimeters needs to go down 1 centimeter. So I know that I'm going to have 5 tiles across here until I get to my slot drain. So I need to have from here to that point there a 50 mil drop in total. So I've just been around with my staff, I've used my staff, I've marked the point where I needed to be on here, which I've actually just figured out is actually where I wanted to be originally. It's about 5 mil below that, so I'm happy now. But what that means is by setting this staff to the point that I need it to be here, and then I've raised it 50 mil, so I've raised the receiver at 50 mil, which drops the bottom point down 50 mil, if that makes sense. So it means that by the time I get down here, I will be 50 mil lower from my measuring point there, and I've just checked the ground, everything's bang on fine, so I know that I can just slope this down nicely and I will get the fall that I need, and nothing's going to get in my way by the time I get to there. An easy way that I'm going to do this, you can do it setting up loads of string lines everywhere to get your falls and your levels and all that, but I've got multiple levels here. So what I'm going to do is basically just level across. I'm going to set my point here on this first tile using my laser level. Okay, so that's all exactly where I want it to be. I know that both ends are going to be level that way, yeah, so by the time I get down to there, using my levels, I might set up a string line across the back, but we'll see. But I know that across that back edge, that will be level with the point of exit, well, my governing point basically over there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this 61 centimeter level, and I'm going to get a 10 mil packer and I'm going to tape it to the edge here. So what that means is when I put it on my tile like so, there will be a 10 mil packer under this side like that. So when I put this tile down and I put my level on it, normally if this was level, it would then be 10 mil sticking up. But what I want to do, because I want to kick this tile down, by putting that 10 mil packer on it, I then will see this to be level. Hopefully that makes sense. I will show you when I'm doing it exactly what I mean, but by putting that packer on there, you just need to make sure that the level is level, and then that tells you you've got the exact fall that you need, which makes my life a hell of a lot easier. And I can literally just make sure this back edge is right, is level across the line that I want it to be on, put this level on this way, and it will kick it down where I need it to be, and now I am quids in, happy days. Right then guys, so my area is all prepped and ready. Next up we need to mix up some sand and cement to lay our slabs on. What I'm going to be doing is a 5-on-1 mix, so we're going to be using 5 parts sharp sand to 1 part cement. You can also use a plasticizer in the mix, but I'm not going to because I don't really see the need, to be fair. This cement's pretty workable anyway. It's not like we're laying bricks, we're just going to put a bed on the floor and then we're going to ruffle it up and then tap the tile down on top of it. So I don't really see the point in spending that extra money on the plasticizer, but it is down to personal preference. So one thing I will say about this is use a proper gauging bucket or something similar. So I've got this handy fence paint tub that I've got left over, which I've kept for exactly this reason. So what we're going to be doing is using 5 parts sharp sand, 1 part cement, like I said. So I'm going to put some water in the mixer first, then I'm going to put 3 of these in, then I'm going to put 1 of those in, and then another 2 of those once that's mixed a little bit. And then that means then I've got a perfect mix, the same mix every time, because you use this gauging bucket. You don't want it too runny, otherwise the tile will just sag down. Also, you don't want it too thick, otherwise if you do need to move the tile at all and adjust it, you've got no chance at all. You've just seen me mixing it, and here it is. You can see in the dark depths of the mixer. So this is the kind of consistency that you're looking for. Not too wet. You can ruffle it up nicely once it's down. It's got a good sort of hold on it. It's very difficult to explain this, but that's what you want. Something like this. So you can easily ruffle it up, and then when you put your tile on it, it will just sit nicely and compress, and you'll have a nice solid flat bed. I've got my mix made, I'm ready to start laying. The next thing I need to do is get some slurry on the back of these. So it's a very important thing that you do when you're laying porcelain tiles, is you use a slurry on the back, and what that does is helps with adhesion. So if you were just to lay the tiles straight onto your sand and cement bed, there's a very good chance that it's going to delaminate and it's not going to key properly into the back of these tiles. I'm using Rock-Type porcelain primer. I've got this from MKM. It comes with 3 bags in there, each of 5 kilograms each. On here it shows you that one 5 kilogram bag does 7 square meters. It's also got a handy measuring gauge on the side as well. So what I've done is, because I am on my own, these are about half a square meter each tile. So what I'm doing is basically allowing for one bag with 7 square meters. That's 14 tiles. This goes off in about an hour, so you don't want to mix too much up. But this one, you need to fill it up to there, which is 31 millimeters from the base of this tub, with water per 5 kilogram bag. So what I've done is I've filled this up, measured inside that it was 31 millimeters from the base, and I've poured it into a bucket because I don't really want to mix in this. These are quite good storage tubs, and I'm using one for my self-leveling tips, which I'll show you about in a minute. So I've filled that up to where I need it to be, and then I've put it in a bucket, and I've actually marked down on the side there, you can see this green mark, exactly where my water line needs to be. So when I'm making mixes in the future, I can just fill it up to that mark, and I know I haven't got to keep gauging it from this box. All you need to do then is get the right amount of water, get your bag, pour it in, and give it a good mix until it's nice and lump free and ready to go. Then you need to get yourself a brush and apply it. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get some of this mixed up now, and then I'll show you how we get it on the back of the tile. Right, so I've mixed this up now. You saw that I mixed it, and basically you just want to go until it's a nice lump-free consistency. They are air bubbles that are in there, they're not lumps. So just basically keep mixing until it's all nice and smooth throughout, and then that's it, we're good to go. Right, let's get it on the tiles. Okay, so we're now ready to start slurrying. Just you need a brush like this, basically a block brush or a fence brush, something like that, whatever it's called. Local hardware store you can get these from. And what we're going to do is just get a good amount on your brush like that. And then you need to make sure that you are fully coating the whole surface all the way over. You need to make sure that you're getting right into the edges as well. You don't want to be leaving it back here like that. You need to make sure you can right up. It's also worth keeping a sponge and a bucket of clean water nearby, so you can clean the edges of the tiles off. This is basically a glue, this stuff. So if you leave it on, if you get it on the front of the tile or the sides of the tile and you leave it on, it will stick, and that will be it. You won't ever get it off. So you want to make sure that you can clean that off while it's still wet, and obviously because you're getting up to the edges, there's a very good chance that you are going to get it on the edges of the tile. So all I'm going to do is just make sure this is fully covered, and then clean the edges off. I've got my bed prepared over there, so once this is on, I can get it laid. You do want to be laying this while this priming slurry is still wet, because then it fully bonds then with your substrate, with your sand and cement mix. I've got some pieces of wood at the bottom down here, because I want to get it right down to the bottom. It enables me to do that without dragging a load of dirt through onto my brush and ultimately onto the back of the tile. Alright, that is nearly there. You can see it's drying very quickly because it is a hot day today, so I need to get a move on with this. Get it in, clean water, clean sponge, and then I'm just going to clean these edges off like that, because all that would happen is if I lay these like this, leave that glue on the edges and it goes off, when I come to put the spacers in, it can obviously affect the spacers and alter the spacing of your tile, which you don't want, because you want your grout to be all uniform all the way over. Right then guys, I've now got a few down. I had to rush off quickly and I totally forgot to put the cameras back on, which is a very schoolboy error, but I was in such a thing about trying to get these done and down, I just totally forgot, so I do apologise a lot. Profusely, I believe is the word. Also, you can see I've changed my attire because it is ridiculously hot, and I've got this wet tea towel over my head and a vest because it is boiling. That's the good thing about England, isn't it? 1 minute it's freezing, chucking down with rain, and then the next minute you are roasting. So anyway, doing the typical English thing of talking about weather. Right, so I've got these down now. You can see that I've used these self-leveling clips. So I've got these from MKM as well. Basically what happens is these just slot underneath here like that. Yeah, and that also acts as your spacer, so that's a 5mm spacer, and then that locks into there like that, and then you put your other tile up to it, and then you get these caps here, and then they just screw down on the top, and then what that does is that just pulls the two tiles level together. So once you've got your first row in, and you've got everything nice and level, you've got your fall that you want, the rest of it is pretty straightforward, because you can use them. Obviously you still need to level everything and make sure you're still following the same lines, because they don't solve every problem. They help with your edges and making sure your edges are flat together. I did have a bit of an accident and a broken tile. Man down, man down. I literally just put it on there and tapped it and it just cracked straight away. So I am going to use the unbroken half for this bit here. So I need half a tile in here, because I'm doing like a brick bond with these tiles. So I literally need half a tile in there. So I'm going to try and cut this in the hope that this isn't just a really weak tile and that's why it's cracked. I could get halfway through and it could just crack totally, so I don't know. A bit of an experiment. Right, on to cutting porcelain tiles. When you're cutting porcelain tiles, you can hire like a proper table wet cutter thing, or if you have access to one of these, you can use one of these. Whatever you use, you will need a porcelain blade. So it's a continuous blade. You can get various different blades for various applications, but for cutting porcelain, specifically a porcelain blade is best, or at the very least a continuous blade like this. So what I mean by continuous is there's no ridges in here. You get certain ones for like cutting concrete or whatever that have got a ridge in. You don't want to use that because it would just chip this straight away. You need a continuous blade like this, and you also need a water feed just to keep everything cool and just cut as smoothly as possible really. When you cut in, it's important just to take your time with it, get it on a surface. It's good to put something underneath like that, something rubbery underneath as well, but because that's not big enough to cover the whole tile, I'm not going to use that. I'll just put a few sheets of cardboard on. It just takes a bit of the vibration out and hopefully prevents cracking. I'm going to get this bad boy started up now. So what I've bought is these. So these are some diamond hand pads, they're called. They're basically edging tools just to smooth the edges off. I did just get these off Amazon. You can spend a hell of a lot of money on these, but because I'm only going to literally be using them to do this patio, hopefully not too many cuts, I just thought these were like £9 I think for a set of 4. So you've got various grits. You've got 400, 200, 100 and a 60 grit, and then you just use those on the edge of the tile where the cut is. So get it wet, and then just to give you a nicer edge, a cleaner edge on it, and then obviously work your way up the grades. The higher the number, the smoother it is, same as with sandpaper. Just work your way up. Pretty happy, to be fair. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than what it was. It doesn't look really chipped and jaggedy. This edge here is going to be in the stones anyway. All the cuts are going to be out of the way, so I'm happy with this. Yeah, it's just rounded it off nicely. Looks like a much better edge. They're not bad. Little Amazon find, £9, saves you a lot of money. Like I say, some of these can be like 60 odd quid each. I wasn't paying that. Right, let's carry on. Right then, so I've got my tile cut. I've got my clips ready. So these just slot under like this, ready, and I've got my mix ready. So I'm going to get this bed down first, and then I'm going to get it slurried up. Because I've already got my tiles either side, I've got a pretty good base to work off. I know roughly where I'm going with my heights. So there's lots of different ways of doing this. Some people get a chunk of wood and then basically notch this out, so they can then screed off it for this to get this nice and flat. But if you're using these, it becomes a bit of a chore and a bit of a mission to do it, because you want to go off the shortest edge rather than trying to go across the long bit of tile, and these are always in the way. So I'm just doing it pretty much by eye, to be honest. I just want to feather it out to try and get it as flat as possible. I know a lot of you who've fitted porcelain before will say that this is a really thick bed. It is quite a thick bed, but it's just because of the fall of the garden. This first couple of rows of tiles are quite a thick bed, and then after that it tapers down to the standard 40mm, so it is all good. So just getting this as flat as possible, within reason. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not screening the floor or anything like that. I can see my string line here, that's where I want to be with the edge of the tile, so I know I need to come to that edge with my mix. But I can again fill underneath afterwards anyway, so I'm not too fussed about if it doesn't go right to the edge, because I know I'm going to be able to fill it in after. So when you're coming up to these edges, yeah, make sure that you keep them clean, because otherwise when you come to put your spacers in, it can catch on some of the muck and can cause you issues with irregular spacing. And also, if you need to tap it down with your mallet, it can start splurging it through and cause you issues again. You do want full coverage for the bottom of this. You don't want to be spotting underneath, like putting a spot there, spot there, spot there. You want full coverage. You go into the effort of doing porcelain, you want to make sure that you're doing it properly, because otherwise it's a bit of a waste. So I know now I'm somewhere near where I need to be with this. I'm just going to clean off the edges of my tile. Like that, just run your trowel down at a bit of an angle, that just tidies up these corners, and then you just want to rough it up like this. And what that does is creates ridges so it can compress down on itself. If you leave it as a flat bed, you'll never be able to get this compressed down, so if there is any adjustment that needs doing, you won't be able to do it because it's a solid bed underneath. But by doing this and creating these ridges in it, it just basically allows everything to compress a little bit and the tile to sit in properly. You just leave it like that. I've got my tile, which is going to be on here, all slurried up ready. I'm just going to get my spacers in. They're in nice and tight. Make sure they squeeze right up to the edge of the tile, otherwise you're going to get an inaccurate gap in between. This is why you keep everything nice and clean as you go. The tile just sits in against those and against those like that, and then we're good. Just worth noting as well, these are amazing. Brilliant bit of kit. They are really good. It's been invaluable doing stuff like this. The last thing you want to be doing is trying to get your fingers around it while you're trying to get them in place, especially if you're getting them up to the spacers, because you'll never do it and you may end up chipping a side or anything like that, so you don't want that. So these are brilliant. You literally just sit on like that. You pump this a few times, and then when it stops pumping, you know it's grabbed it, and then that's it. You can lift up to 110 kilos with one of these. I know these are where they need to be, so I can already see there's a bit of a lip here, so this is going to need a gentle tap. Just use a white mallet, a non-marking mallet, because otherwise you may mark your tiles and you don't want that, do you? So give this a gentle tap around everywhere. There we go, we're looking good. Right, I can actually see that that needs to come up a little bit there. So what I'm going to do is just squeeze this back under it, and that's lifting that up nicely. And that is looking a lot better. I can get my caps on here now, my adjusters, and that will just pull that up to where I want it to be, keeping it nice and in line with the other ones. Let's check my fall. That is very good, beautiful. Again, I'm a little bit low here, so what I'm going to do is just get these caps on, pull it to where I need it to be. This side is all perfect here, it's just this bottom end, so I'm just going to literally use my trowel, squeeze some more material underneath just to make sure it's nice and solid. Get your sponge, get everything cleaned off as you go, because the last thing you want to do is have dry cement on here, because it's going to cause you a nightmare later on down the line. Just give everything a nice wipe off, and there you go, that's it, easy as that. Right, on to the next one.
Hopefully you've enjoyed seeing a little bit more of the journey of my garden. In the next episode, I'm going to be showing you more of this tiling and also how I installed these very nice and discreet Eco slot drains. If you have enjoyed the video, give us a big thumbs up, and if you're not yet subscribed, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button. Mate, it'll make my day. I'll be very happy if you do. Take care guys, see you next time.